This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody, and firstly apologies for the lengthy delay in bringing you these live safaris. It seems like we've got everything back on track, and we have actually been sitting waiting to show you this leopard, and it's been resting here for about 2 hours or so. So welcome to your afternoon live safari. This leopard hasn't really been moving around, like I mentioned, for the last hour and a half or so. It's been resting, sleeping in the shade, and we're just lucky that we caught her moving from one bush to another, because it looks like she's settled down for the afternoon at least. We are here at And Beyond Ngala. My name is Eric, and behind camera as always is Owen. You might see a couple of bushes. We had to try and maneuver ourselves through the jungle to show you the view of this beautiful leopard that we have here. So if you joined us this morning, the very first thing that myself and Owen set out to do was to go and have a look for a leopard. And I mentioned last night there was a couple of male leopards that were seen on the same carcass, and so we were driving the riverbed back into that area to see if we saw any updates, and this female presented herself. So it's not the ones that we started off looking, but anyway, it's still rewarding being able to find and show you a leopard. And if you just look around her, I mean, you see how thick the bush is. We are so lucky that she's just in this tiny little gap that we get to show you. Because if she was a meter to the left or a meter to the right, there literally would be absolutely no view of her. And so she's really putting on a nice show. So we're still in the eastern part of the reserve, and within this area there's a female leopard who frequents and has made this her territory, and it's a territory that she basically inherited from her mother. And so this is a female called the Inyala female, who a few viewers might be familiar with. She has been around for the last little bit. I think I put my head in the leaves. And so she has got a cub somewhere. We haven't seen it. So I think she might have left it somewhere in the last... Yeah. Also, please feel free to send through your questions and your comments at #WildEarth on Twitter, or at Final Control FC, at least on YouTube, and we'll try and answer as many as we can. So like I was saying, she does have a cub, but we haven't seen any sign of the cub around yet. So she might have left it probably sometime during the morning, maybe even into the evening, and she might have gone off to go and try and see if she could hunt successfully by herself before returning to the cub. And that's why we've had the patience. I mean, it's one thing to be able to sit and watch a sleeping leopard for a couple of hours. So Owen and I have not been bored whatsoever, but there's that slight anticipation that, you know, if she shows signs of getting up, she could lead us straight back towards where she might be stashing her cub. So that's why we've definitely been able to just wait it out. So like I say, with the prospect of her leading us back towards her cub, or maybe even going on a hunt, we're not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. So whilst we sit and wait for any sign of activity, let's send you across to Dylan and let him say good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. I've been missing you. Genre's been missing you. It's another beautiful afternoon out here at Tswalu Kalahari. Yeah, apologies for taking so long to get you, but we've been here. We've had our share of experiences already. We're doing our little hole in the ground experiments again. We've got some like little branches here. We're just sitting. We've had 2 groups of buffalo out here so far. We've had a big roan bull that walked right into the middle of the pan to drink. Slender mongoose, 2 of them, and a yellow mongoose. And then, of course, all the normal culprits in terms of birds, the doves and the canaries and weavers and that kind of thing. But it's just great having you back with us. Ask questions. And I think we're in for some fun viewing over the next couple of hours. Just out of interest, we got this old kudu bull, or what's left of him, right on the edge of the water over here. And that is what's left from a wild dog kill. They killed this about 5 months ago. This big bull. They actually chased him right into the water, and they put just onto the edge, and that's where he made his final stand. And that is all that's left of him now. I think I'm just going to spend more time here. I'm hoping that we get some more buffalo coming out, and you never know in terms of jackal, brown hyena, things like that. So let's bite the bullet.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Tswalu Game Reserve. We have a little bit of a sad scene in front of us. We have a very, injured hyena. I don't know who it is yet. The left ear is floppy, and I wondered if that means it could be June. But I'm really not sure. When we arrived, it's skittish, so we don't want to scare it anymore at the minute. But my name is Lauren. I do have BK on camera, and I feel very, very sad right now. I don't like seeing injured animals, any animal, be it a spider, a crab, a snail, or a hyena. Now, if any of you can identify this individual from the view we're giving, please do let us know, #WildEarth or @FC. But that left ear is completely flopped over. And what I think I'm going to try and do is just move the car around to get a better view to see if there's any other injuries. But if this hyena reacts, then we'll stop the engine immediately. I don't want to give a fright to an animal that's obviously, been injured and possibly distressed. We're just going to move very, very carefully. I've been to the hyena den already, and no one's there. Oh, okay. Let me try that one again. It's okay. Zephyr, you're saying it looks like a young hyena? I'm not sure. It looks like a very skinny hyena. Okay, I can't get over this log. I am driving terribly. Sorry, BK. I'm now scared to drive over logs because of what happened yesterday. It's okay. Oh, it's dug itself a little hole in the ground, and it's probably just trying to keep cool. We're not going to hurt you. Is that okay, Beaks? Okay, let's get a better look at the hyena. The injury looks relatively fresh. Redstone, you reckon it is June. June does have a floppy ear now. She never used to, but I'm just not sure. I'm personally hesitant to say until I can see the spot pattern. The June I saw the other day with Tandy, I put a photo up on my Instagram, was very large. This hyena looks very, very skinny. It's just a rather sad sight to see. Clearly feeling sorry for itself. We're right at Twin Dams. I mean, we're not in the middle of a thicket or in a block. We're on a main road. Just go closer into that back leg, BK. I think that's some old injuries. Yeah, but we can get a good look at that foot structure there. If you go down to the foot, you can see, there we go. those wonderful tracks that we see everywhere, the paddy paws. And just like a domestic dog, the claws are always out. And they'll stay nice and sharp by the animal just walking on the terrain, walking on the rough ground, running. You don't really see hyenas scratch their claws against trees. Our plan was to head to Chitwa, but now we've just came across this hyena, and I really want to know, A, who it is, and B, when it stands up, if it's okay. There could be another injury that we just can't see from this angle. Thank you, Emma. Yes, it could absolutely be from a hyena. The hyenas have not been at the den all day that I'm aware of. And this could mean that the adults, aka Corky and Tima, Ribbon, could be sitting with a leopard. And they could all be around a kill. And hyenas, just like lions, get quite aggressive. There's a feeding frenzy. There's a hierarchy, but they can injure one another. So this injury absolutely could be from another hyena. I'm thinking the most likely explanation is another hyena. I don't think lion, and I definitely don't think leopard, but that's just my speculation. Oh, my heart is heavy. Okay, I think I'll just sit here for a little while without disturbing this individual to see if we can pick up any more clues. But for now, we're going to send you guys back across to a very sleepy leopard.
It's certainly much more of a peaceful scene than a hyena with an injury, I must say. We've had our fair share of watching animals injured. I'm sure if we've been following for the last couple of months, that young male lion has crept his way into a lot of people's hearts when he's still doing well, which is very cool to see. So I hope that hyena is doing the same. I'm sure it will recover nicely. This leopard hasn't moved much, and if you watch its stomach, it is breathing, so it is alive. It's not a teddy bear that we put there. It's not Barney in a onesie that we put in the bushes. So it's alive, and every now and again, if there's a bird that calls quite close by, it'll pick up its head. That's actually just with the arm moving in front of the face. It's the most movement Owen and I have seen in the last 10 minutes or so. So it could be a good sign. Nice big deep breath there. So you never know. Maybe she decides to get up. The temperature's dropping really nicely. I can feel quite a nice breeze flowing from the river, which is basically directly away from us. So the leopard's in between us and the river. I'm sure she'll walk onto the banks if you would like to get a bit of sunlight. It's a perfect spot, but it's also really nice just to stop and scan and look for any opportunity that might be huntable. So she, especially in this area, I think would be targeting the smaller little antelopes, the impalas. Yeah, all the viewers who are concerned about Barney wearing a onesie, you obviously don't know Barney too well. But you can ask him about it in a couple of days. But, I mean, going onto that riverbank there, she'll be targeting things like impalas who might be crossing the river from a waterhole to some nice open grazing areas. But there's an antelope called a grey duiker that spends most of its life in dense thickets like this. And it will often come out onto the edge of the banks of the river. And I mean, very often you might find that she'll target a smaller antelope who might be slightly easier to catch. So as it's starting to cool down, it's starting to get a bit darker. There's more and more chance that she will get up, and we've already committed. We've been here for a little over 2 hours, so we're happy to just wait it out. And like I say, we can think of worse places to be than staring at a sleeping leopard. Just see her ear there, and I mean, when she gets older and starts competing for territory more and more, you might find that she'll start developing little war wounds. There we go. Awesome. It's a really good sign. She hardly opened her eyes, but that is a sign that she's starting to get up a little bit more, which is very, very cool. So I just mentioned that ear and how, if you look at the very edge of it, it's nice and clean. There's no cuts or scars. She's in pretty prime territory, especially for a female leopard, with water available, good food available. And so one of the things that she could also be doing, I guess, is trying to scent mark a little bit later. Another sign of movement, quick little squeeze. So it's promising, and we're not going to go anywhere. But that hyena, I think, is presenting itself nicely, so let's go see if we can ID it.
She did have her head up, he or she. I knew that moment wasn't going to last very long. I'm still not sure who it is. Okay, Emma's saying you managed to see. I don't know, this is a very poorly looking hyena, in my opinion. Skinny, scrawny. June looked very well the other day. Very, very well. Very full, very happy, very large. This hyena's small and feeling very sorry for itself. Lots of hyenas get injured ears. Of course, it's only cartilage. The ear's made up of cartilage, and many of them can have floppy ears. Shenzi, I don't know what the injury is, I'm afraid. I can't answer your question. I can see some scratches on the back of her ear. I don't really know how deep they are, and I don't know how extensively she's injured. I can't answer that, I'm afraid. That's what we're hoping to see. I mean, a surface wound, just like you or I, would heal quite quickly. They're resilient. As long as he or she is fed well, the injury will heal. But if there's a deeper wound or a broken limb, well, that's a different story. So I'm not sure. So far, I can only see surface wounds on the ears. The floppy ear itself will never heal. And Corky's mother, believe it or not, was called Floppy Ear. And she, well, had a floppy ear. It's quite common for hyenas to battle and injure their ears. And cartilage is very soft. It's flexible, but it's very soft. It's not as heavy or dense as bone, and therefore it can get easily damaged. So the floppy ear will never erect itself, if you like. Oh, there we go. What happened to you? Completely anthropomorphizing here, but this hyena just looks sad. What happened? Okay, I'm going to make up my mind what I'm going to do here. Don't want to leave this hyena, but it's also very sad. While I do that, we're going to send you guys back across to Tswalu.
So we've got the coolest thing here. And again, everyone else is trying to find like animals. And when we're desperate, we look for inanimate things. But as Jean-Ray zooms in on the spot, look at those bubbles. Now, it might just be bubbles, but bubbles are not just bubbles. Bubbles. But we've got no animals that live in here that we're aware of. So unless it's something like the Loch Ness story, where there's something lurking in this pan that we don't know about. But I don't think so. That's just a guess, but I don't think so. But I reckon what's going on here is that there's something, either plant material under the surface of the water there, trapped in the mud, or, remember we pointed out that kudu bull, the skull that's lying over here, it could actually be even parts of a carcass that's actually trapped under the sediment there from the rains. And as whatever it is decomposing, and so it's releasing these bubbles of methane. I'm assuming that's methane there, could be wrong. but it's been continuous since the time that we started sitting here. The other alternative, of course, is that there's volcanic activity underneath us, and it's just kind of like warming this pan up and it's starting to bubble now. But I also don't think that's very likely. But yeah, so I think that the fact that there's got to be something organic underneath it that's busy decomposing. But it's just, we've been sitting here the whole time and it's just like bubble and bubble and bubble. Like, it makes me want to like bubble, bubble, toil and trouble. But we're going to see something else just now. Like some animal will come down. I'm sure of it. Chandre's not convinced. No, we will. It's just the power of positive thinking, Chandre. But look at all the birds. Chandre has been identifying these. We've got Cape turtle doves. Jante has asked, could it be a crocodile? We don't. Sorry, I'm just laughing. I apologize up front. I'm going to tell you straight out, I absolutely butcher names because I can't hear properly. And it's no, the tech is great, it's just my hearing's bad. But the question is, do we have crocodiles here? We don't. Unfortunately, I love crocodiles. They are incredible animals and fascinating. If you ever get the chance to see one, there's a lot you can learn about crocodiles. But these water bodies that you're seeing here are actually just rainwater at the moment. And by the end of the dry season, going into the summer months when our temperatures are skyrocketing, and very often you haven't got rain yet, so you're hitting the high 30s, early 40s, end of October, beginning of November, these are absolutely literal puddles of water. So really, really not ideal for any water animals. We get frogs here, and you get beautiful little creatures called brachiopods, which are these really almost like sci-fi little animals. Some of them look like shrimps, others look like weird little clams, but these things are minuscule. And after the first rains, then they actually flood these little bodies of water, and they are incredibly important food for any of your migrant birds, migrant waders, ducks, geese, things like that. And we've even had flamingos that you get in, not in large numbers, but you can occasionally get flamingos arriving at these pans. So these little brachiopods, these tiny little life forms, are incredibly important at some points of the year for animals. But so I think these bubbles are, I think it's just decomposing organic matter. Or there's someone trying to sing underwater. But I don't think so either. So I've got something. Sorry, I'm getting really excited. Okay, I'm gonna hold my thoughts. They got a very good leopard sighting, and we'll come back just now. Okay, if you're gonna stick with me. So something incredibly exciting here. I'll be very quick. The past week, there's been 2 South African shell ducks at this pan. Okay, for the past 2 days, one of them has been missing completely, the female. So going into the literature, this is actually the key breeding time for shell ducks. And so I'm going to try. This is going to be a complete fly, and we've only got 30 days to do it in. 30 days. 30 days to do it in. But we're going to try find that nest. It will be probably one of the most difficult things we've ever done here, certainly for myself. But there's a tiny chance, and Chandra and I, we're going to put in a lot of effort and see if we can find them for you. But head over to the leopard and see what's going on there.
I hope Dylan manages to find that missing shell duck. It is a beautiful bird. So it may look like she's in exactly the same spot, and she is, but the movement is getting more and more frequent. And so just before we came back to her, she was starting to lick that same shoulder again. She even almost threatened to roll over and face the other direction. And so, I mean, it's just showing signs. It's just worth waiting it out. Owen and I were kind of umming and ahhing on whether or not to move on or not, and we just thought we've committed so much time already. It would be really, really awesome to see her up and moving around and see what she gets up to. So we both decided that it will be worth us staying. This is one of the females we've been spending quite a lot of time looking for and tracking, and it's just amazing how she moves around at night time. And she can cover surprisingly large distances for a leopard. She tends to stick right around this area, right around the river. She doesn't move too far away from it, but she walks up and down it quite a lot. So as we speak, we're very, very close to the tented camp, but she could get up and walk east, and she could cover 3 or 4 kilometers this evening quite easily. I haven't seen her cub probably in about a month or so, and I think it's probably one of the reasons why I'm quite happy to wait it out, because I'd love to catch up with the cub and see how much bigger it's gotten. I'm sure within the last month it would have grown quite a lot. So I'm desperate to see it. And there's another deep sigh. The ears are flicking around a little bit more. Isabella, you're 9 years old, and if a leopard kills another leopard in a fight, they tend not to eat it. They will basically just kill it and then move off, for the most part. There have been recordings of leopards eating other leopards, but they tend to hoist, or they tend to feed on it for maybe they won't finish the carcass, should I say. So they might take a couple of bites out of it and then they'll move off. I've heard of recordings of mothers finding their cubs who have been killed by hyenas or something else, and then they'll feed on the cubs as well. I'm not entirely sure of the reason for that, but it is pretty well documented. So, I mean, if she killed another leopard, I mean, her main rival would be a female leopard that we find you've also been spending a little bit of time with. She's called the Tswalu female, and she hangs around a little bit more central into the reserve. And their territories are right next to one another. And so if she were to kill the Tswalu female in a fight, I would imagine that she'll probably just move off. But I think for the most part, when leopards are fighting, females I don't think are as aggressive when they fight. They definitely will give each other a really good go, but they won't tend to fight to the death as much as males would. Males tend to have a lot more to lose, I guess. And they will fight over a female like this. If she's on the boundary of 2 male leopards and she's ready to mate, both of those males will consider each other quite big challenges, and so a big fight could break out. And I mean, if they couldn't decide who a victor would, they'll keep fighting until someone eventually killed another one. Yeah, so we are, or at least Owen and I are going to stick around here and just wait for her, and hopefully she's going to move around before the sun goes down.
Baby hippo alert. I don't quite know what it's doing. I think it's having a jolly good time, and that could be Mom, or at least an older one, staying close by. There's a whole lot of jacuzzi bubbles going on there. There's a lot of youngsters in Chitwa right now, the new generation. That sound never fails to entertain me. Now, just to update you, we left the hyena, but after we finish exploring Chitwa, I will go back and check on it. We're not putting it at risk in any way, shape, or form by checking on it. I'm planning on heading back to the hyena den soon. Emo, that's the right word. I was trying to search for that word. Thank you, Emo. So gummy, yes. Very gummy. There's no teeth there yet. This is a very, very young hippo. Just wants to play. Hippo's lower canines are modified into huge tusks, just like elephants, although slightly different. It's actually a modified tooth that you're looking at, and they grow continuously in hippos, and they can end up reaching about 1/2 meter, well over a foot. Moonbeam, that's a very good question. I think in general, hippos are buoyant due to that really, really thick layer of fat under their skin. So fat, when in water, when in a sort of liquid medium, is buoyant. As I've mentioned sometimes before, that's why on a general level, females are more buoyant in water than males, because females tend to have a higher body fat percentage. I'm talking very generally here. I understand there's a huge diverse range of body shapes and sizes. So hippos, I think, are very, very buoyant, and that's why they have to exhale before going under. So what they're doing here is getting rid of all the air that's in their lungs, and this will allow them to become negatively buoyant. They sink to the bottom, and then they're able to submerge. Now, most likely they won't exhale all of the air in their lungs, but they'll exhale some of it in order to sink. And we can do the exact same. Humans can do the exact same thing. Try it when you're in the swimming pool or the ocean. Swimming pool is probably easier though, because there's no salt. You can exhale and immediately you'll start to sink. And if you have scuba equipment on, you can inhale, fill your lungs with air again, and immediately you'll start to float. Buoyancy in water is a fascinating topic. So as for going back to your question, Moonbeam, are the baby hippos more buoyant? I would say they're very, very buoyant. If they were negatively buoyant, they would end up sinking, and that would be extremely dangerous for a baby hippo. So I completely believe that they're positively buoyant. They're not swimmers. Hippos are not swimmers. We found a stick. Or are we just resting our head? Oh. Well, I hope none of you were eating your dinner there. Blacksmith Lapwing just along for the ride. Now, although that's probably not very pleasant, you could hear it, and it's very territorial. Hippos do this when they're marking their territory. They spread their feces far and wide. using the helicopter motion of the tail. It's more beneficial to do this on land, of course. Not so much in the water. I think our little baby hippo's looking rather sleepy. I think we're gonna stay.
Good afternoon, good. Hope you're all full of joy. I'm not particularly full of joy. My name is James Hendry. I hope you're all well. David.
Hello.
It's on camera. That's his slightly bent thumb. Is it again? That's impressive. Back to the vultures there and the batelier. Now, when we drove out of camp at 2:30 this afternoon, full of great excitement, we had monkeys alarm calling, we had bateliers and vultures descending into the middle of this block, and so we thought we were in with a great afternoon, or in for a great afternoon. Anyway, we drove in there, we had a long hard look for an hour and a half. We drove up and down inside there, and we could find absolutely nothing. Then there were alarm calls at the waterhole, at the dam, and there was nothing. We went back there, we didn't find anything. I walked through this block now, still nothing. Something has died in there. Maybe it's a phantom. Maybe it was killed by Mulwati the leopard and been very cleverly hidden. But I can't find what it is. Lovely picture of the vultures there and the juvenile batelier sitting on the far right-hand side of your screen. I suppose at 10 to 5, it's a little bit late to be telling you can ask us any questions you like using the hashtag WildEarth. You can also use the chat stream on YouTube and Twitch if you want. So it's been very frustrating. Beautiful afternoon though. The dead phantom, Penelope, smells like Coca-Cola. I'm surprised you didn't know that. Everyone knows that. A dead phantom smells like Coca-Cola, but I didn't smell Coca-Cola either. Anyway, we're going to drive around this block, and then I'm afraid I don't see what else we can do in this position until whatever it is decides it gets thirsty and it's going to come and have a drink. So maybe pop across to the dam camp now and then and just check that there isn't something having a drink. But I think whatever it is has already had its drink. Vultures, I don't think have ever been described as cute, unlike a baby hippopotamus.
Very cute. Sleeping. The little one's fallen asleep, everybody. What a completely different scene from that hyena. Oh, those are very heavy. That's what I get about 9 o'clock in the evening these days. Oh, once you hit 30, PK. Now, I just want to point out a very interesting bird just right on the embankment here, BK. Here, BK. I don't know why I'm whispering. I don't think the hippo is going before it flies away. I think we have here the green-backed heron. You can also call it the striated heron. Got two different words. It doesn't look best impressed with life. Hello. I think this bird also looks very snoozy. The dam is very quiet. I think everybody's slowly falling asleep. Maybe BK and I should take a nap. Now, this heron is a water bird, as most herons are. They feed on fish, frogs, aquatic insects, any aquatic animals. This bird, apologies about that. They're fairly common around here, green-backed herons. You only really see them when you're around water. Oh, we've woken up. You see that really, really sharp beak? That's for darting into the water and grabbing something. It's like a spear. You can also use it to spear right through fish. Now let's go back and see how our sleepy baby's getting on. Painted wolf. Yes, it does look like a penguin. I can assure you it's not, but it does look like a penguin because it's all huddled over with a hunchback. So I think we're possibly going to leave Chitwa now because I really want to make it to the hyena den. But from this waterhole, we're going to send you across to a waterhole at Tswalu Kalahari.
I've never been more grateful to 3 buffalo in my entire life. Jean and I've been sitting here and it is gorgeously beautiful this afternoon. It's just the birds are in and out. It's just so peaceful. And yet there's hardly been an animal. Well, they came in between 3:30 and 4. The viewing was brilliant, and then everyone disappeared. And then it was dead quiet. So these buffalo have just rocked up. So I'm very, very grateful to them. The oldest one, just out of interest, and I'm looking at the horns, is that one standing in the middle, that one in the dead middle. That you see is pitch black. And then the other two are slightly lighter, but if you look at how gnarly his horns are compared to the others got relatively smooth horns on the top. So that indicates that he's an older animal. So that big part in the buffalo's horns is called the boss, B-O-S-S. And in exceptional cases, where you get big herds of buffalo, and that sometimes the very, very old males, the horns actually wear off completely on either side, and you're just left with the boss on top there. It looks like a scrum cap. It's actually very odd. They're having a good drink now. I'm always interested in the behavior of animals when they're drinking. You know, we're talking about doves the other day. If you look at these buffalo, Butterfly says these buffalo look well groomed. Yeah, they do. I love the acacia leaf confetti on their backs. So they've obviously been walking under what we call the blackthorn acacias. Senegalia is the genus, and mellifera is the species. Senegalia mellifera. Oh, I love this light. Is gorgeous. Again, we are downwind. You can actually see the ripples on the water, how that's moving from left to right. But it's a very, very, very gentle breeze. And what that means is it can swirl very easily as well and carry our scent to the buffalo, but they don't seem too perturbed. I'm enjoying that little lapwing moving around behind the buffalo there. I think he's obviously trying to grab any little insects or invertebrates, you know. Well, insects are invertebrates, but trying to grab any little things like that that might be disturbed by the buffalo coming down to drink. saying with their drinking behavior, it's always nice to see how they walk into the water. Dina has asked, do buffalo move in big herds at Tswalu? Good question. Not normally nearly in the size herds that you get down where our colleagues are working at them. And there you get these massive herds of hundreds, sometimes in exceptional cases even thousands of animals. We don't have those kind of numbers here. So you normally get these small fragmented herds, and normally typically 5, 6, 7 of these old bulls together. Very occasionally you get the smaller breeding herds as well, but very, very, very few. This buffalo on the right, well, actually on the, he's actually the one that's most alert out of those three. The one in the middle is kind of like, I'm not too concerned. You can see there's a high algal content in the water. When they move their legs, when they move their feet, you'll actually just see the green tinge in the water. Magnificent horns, eh? I must have a big, having a good lick on his nose there. I like buffalo horns, eh? This one on the right is looking straight at us now. Oh, they are magnificent animals there. And to give you some idea of the distance there, this is 30 yards. 30 yards from us. And no, it's not dangerous. I mean, there's calculated risks, but we're quite comfortable where we are.
So she's moved around a little bit, and see her position slightly more, I guess, alert than completely flat. So now her head is facing up, those ears are moving around a lot more than what we first saw her as. So there's still potential here. I was expecting that she was going to move around by now, but we're just going to have to try and wait it out. And that's the special thing about being in a situation like this. Owen and I really get the opportunity to just sit and watch and see how she lives her life, really. Very seldom do we get to spend this much time in normal circumstances with one individual animal like this. So it's been quite a special afternoon for us. And by the sounds of it, it seems like the other viewers have got, the other rangers have got really... Nushka is asking what different patterns we look for. Apart from the whiskers, and I think the whiskers tends to be, if you get a nice facial shot of a leopard, it tends to be one of the best ways of identifying it, but sometimes you don't get the opportunity like now, and so we'll start to look at other patterns that we might be able to see in the spots. And so at the moment, we might as well just see if we can see some unique spot patterns together, maybe around that front right-hand shoulder. So the one that draws my attention is just to the left-hand side of the leaf over there. There's two spots that are very, very close together, and then directly above it is a little, it almost looks like a little nose with two little eyes. And then around it, it almost looks like there's sunglasses. There's on the left-hand side, right above it, and to the right of that. And so if we got into the position where we could literally just see that front shoulder, we could look at those, it looks pretty unique, I guess, those 3 or 4 spots that are almost in like a circle with that funny looking face around it, and we could kind of tell that this is the Inyala female. Other things that give them away is just some scarring. So if there's a big scar across the face or on the nose, or perhaps sometimes a missing bit of lip or ear, that might be a good indication. I know there was a leopard here, actually her mother was called the black dam female, and she used to have a spot pattern. I think it was almost like the shape of a heart by one of her eyes. So that was also quite a good way. I'd love for her to pick up her head and look at you, because if she makes eye contact with the camera, she's got these abnormally large eyes. And that's something, I mean, as soon as I look for a female leopard and I notice those eyes, I know immediately that it's the Inyala female. So there are a few different ways, but like I say, if you get a good facial photo and you can look at the spot patterns, that tends to be the most go-to one. Owen and I are sitting here willing her to move, and I think she's probably just being stubborn and saying, I'm not moving if they want me to. Maybe we can trick her into thinking we actually don't want her to move, and she might. Jenna, you're 14 years old and asking which senses might they use when they're sleeping like this. And for the most part, it will be hearing, I guess. And when you look at her now, she looks like she's completely fast asleep. Really nice, solid, deep breaths. But if we have a closer look at those ears again, they really don't stop moving. And sometimes it's because of little insects that are bothering her in those ears. But she tends to move them around a lot, and so she's looking for, or listening at least, for anything really, any little rustle of grass. There could be a grey duiker or a common duiker that's around the corner that she might be wanting to hunt, potentially maybe even the potential threat of another predator coming. So she needs to be alert, and she'll never really be completely asleep. You know, if she thinks that she's heard something of interest or she might need to investigate it, then she'll pick up her head and then she'll try and lock eyes on it and see if she can get that visual affirmation before she decides on what to use. I think to a certain extent she could also use her smell, but I think her hearing is the one that she'll rely on most in a situation like this. And just see, I mean, you just look at that contrasting colors of the shoulder area that we just spent some time looking with the black and the gold, exactly the same color as the grass. And then just look at the white of her belly. It is just such a pure white color. That fur to me looks completely soft. I'd love to just be able to to feel what it's like. I'm not willing to risk it though. So Owen and I have given her a deadline. We've said she needs to be up and moving around within the next 10 or 15 minutes. And if she hasn't moved by then I think we might continue and see if we can find any nocturnal animals.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
We're just watching. Oh, it's a goose. There's a goose. There's a goose. Sorry. I got so excited there. Shelduck. Sorry, a shelduck. Oh, no. So this is why I'm so excited about this. This is the guy I was telling you about. So his partner in crime, the one of the whitehead, which is the female, is for sure, unless she was eaten, of course. That's an alternative. But otherwise, she's for sure down in burrow somewhere on eggs. These birds can lay, I mean, it would be very unusual out here. I've never seen that amount, but they can lay up to 16 eggs. Now you must think how amazing that is to be able to get 16 eggs laid. They're all down in burrow, so the temperature's really good, and she's also lined the whole nest with down and stuff, so it'll be nice and warm. So this little guy, why I'm so frustrated that we didn't actually see which direction he came. We kind of got a general direction, but he would actually fly back to the nest multiple times during the day and actually do guard duty, kind of like the meerkats on sentry duty. This guy will sit outside that nest burrow, the burrow entrance, and he'll just start alarming if anything approaches. So that's pretty cool. So I'm so excited that we've got him back now, because this now is a good example of what we were talking about earlier. So just think, somewhere out there his partner is underground, down a hole, on eggs. Yeah, that is so cool. There's our mission. We're going to try to track this one down. Jackal is asking, do we think the water is warm or cold? This water is pretty chilly. I guess I could get a temperature reading. I must just find a thermometer somewhere, but I could do that. But this water is cold. It's also not very, if I do walk across there, it would be about knee high, excluding the mud. So if there's a bit of, it's very soft, clayey, squishy, squashy mud on the bottom here. And so it'll be take me a bit deeper than, but if it was a firm base, it would be probably knee high. But what that means in terms of temperature, although water is a pretty stable, so the water temperature is pretty stable, but on a shallow body like this, it can fluctuate quite a bit. So for some of you, this may be a new bird. It's a very good arid area special. It's adapted to arid areas, and its focal area is within called the Great Karoo, the Central Karoo of South Africa. And we are here. We're actually just on the periphery of its distribution. But we've got good numbers here. I mean, every second or third water body's got a couple on them. But I'm so excited that he came back now, because as long as he's using this dam as his base, it means then we're in for a chance of actually finding that nest. But that nest can be far. They've been recorded over 1.5 kilometers away from the water. James asked, what do shell ducks eat? Good question. They're typically feeding on plant matter. So he could be dabbling inside this dam, maybe this algae that we were looking at, that lovely green stuff around the feet of the buffalo earlier. He'll be filtering a lot of that out of the water. But also, remember I mentioned these little brachiopods that at the onset of the rains, when they come out in mass, he'll be feeding a lot on those as well. And they'll also graze away from bodies of water, and often in mixed flocks with other geese, like Egyptian geese, things like that. But most of the energy for feeding is focused around water bodies. So this is so exciting. But look how pretty that bird is. And that chestnut and gold and cream and wow. And we've got tons and tons of other doves. Those two doves sitting to the right of him now, those are called Cape turtle doves. Some people may know them as a ringneck dove. This is the one that you very commonly hear calling. They go, it's a drink lager, drink, or work harder. Chandra and I, we're going to spend more time here because we're really just enjoying what we're seeing here. So.
I'd like to see a shell duck myself. I think it's unlikely to appear in this current sighting. This is our traditional be quiet while the sun goes down segment, and so I shall do that. Hopefully David will manage to. Very quiet evening. Just down in the valleys you can hear the sounds of the francolins. Oxpeckers going by. swing beats. And there it goes. Now, there are two things that I find to be fantastic medicine in these trying times. The first is being able to sit and watch the sunset, and in fact every day the sunrise as well, is just very, very special. The other is the joy of laughter, of course. And I don't know what David found quite so funny during that segment. But he set me off as well, so I do apologise. It's pure joy, that's all it is. Magnificent view of the sun and the setting sun. And ever so slightly, I don't know how many of you watch this every day. I mean, I think quite a lot of you watch this every day. You'll notice that the sun's moving very slowly down towards the mountains. So it's moving from right to left in your screen. And in summer, it'll set actually pretty much, even in that little sort of mouth made by the plant, by the cluster leaf, it'll set down through there. Jenna, you said you thought the laughing effect was part of the show. It wasn't meant to be, but as I've said to many of you before, things that I find, some of the things that I find most hilarious is when you're watching a live show, like a news broadcast or even a Saturday Night Live, and when the cast can't hold it together anymore and they start laughing. I find that utterly hilarious. So when David, for some reason, can't hold it together, I really don't know why he couldn't hold it together. I lose it myself. Right, let's go out onto the eastern boundary now. We're hoping to get a sight of, well, the Queen, Tundi. But we don't actually have any tracks to go on, so we're just driving in hope at the moment. Not that anything we've done today has been anything but driving in hope. Ngala still has a leopard, and so let's go back there and see how he's doing.
Look. Yes, she's yawning. This is the second time she's yawned in the last 5 minutes. Her head's up, she's much more alert. And this is exactly what we've been waiting for. I think what might have spurred that movement, and now she's being spiteful and facing away from us. But her head is up. There's a chance that she's going to get up, and she's facing directly towards the river. And I think what might have spurred her movement are these birds that are finishing their day. So they've been spending the whole day on the ground feeding. These spoonbills, these spur fowls and the guinea fowls and the franklins have all been on the ground, and it sounds like they're all moving up towards their roosting site. Another yawn, which means that they're making a lot of noise. So there's lots of clattering and chattering that's going on. And I think with that extra movement, she's just picked up her head to see if she herself can listen for potential opportunities and where to move. So this is the fourth yawn that she's given us. And this is exactly why we decided to stick around, is to see her. Another clear sign of her getting active is the grooming. So there she goes, cleaning her front paws. And she tends to get up and she decides to walk. See if you can see her eyes if she looks at us. Just look at how big her eyes are in comparison to her face. So that for me is definitely the best identifying feature. Come on, there we go. Yeah. Still grooming, and she's not very far from the river. I don't want to get my hopes up too much. So George, female leopards are much smaller than male leopards. Females, this female, if I had to guess, would probably be in the region of about 40 or maybe 50 kilograms, but they can get up to 60, maybe 70 kilograms at a push. And she might even be a little bit less, maybe about 30, 35 kilograms. Males will be double that, 2.5 times even. So a big male leopard will weigh up to about 90 kilograms. So usually between 70 to 80 kilograms, I'd say, is probably the more accurate figure, but they can grow, especially if they've got a tummy, they can grow up to touching on the 100 kilogram mark. I think the heaviest leopard that I've ever heard being weighed was somewhere around the 101, 102 kilogram mark. But he did have a full belly, so probably 5-7 kilograms of that was meat. When she stands up, you'll see she's quite a slim-figured female. She's quite short. Okay, so whilst we wait and see this spotted animal moving around a little bit, we'll send you over to another animal who's got a very interesting spot pattern.
Here are the giraffe, 2 of them, 2 male giraffe, a big one in front and a younger bull behind. Fascinated by us, absolutely convinced that we hold the secrets to longevity and alchemy. No idea where that came from, and I apologize. Right, the older one's decided he's definitely seen us before and we're not that interesting. Giraffe are generally very curious, in case you're wondering why they're standing there. The closest I've ever been to a giraffe was 1.5 meters. In fact, a meter. I was lying on the ground in one of these gated eco estates that we have around South Africa. And they had some giraffe there, obviously. And about 6 of them came and stood within a meter of me, all kind of dipping their heads down and looking. Thankfully, none of them stomped on me, but it was just remarkable to see. He's also quite pale. He's got really nice kind of white colouring. And that's really not necessarily because he's a younger one than the older, darker bull. They do tend to get slightly darker as they get older, the bulls, but not always. If you're wondering what that people sound is, it's people on the game drive. They're obviously full of great joy, as much as David was earlier. When we mentioned the shell duck, I managed to find out what made him laugh. He has got smart ossicones, Catherine, absolutely. They're not yet damaged by all the fighting he's going to have to do. And because he's younger, they haven't ossified a huge amount at the base. So they're nice and straight and even. Although the one on our left, his right, is slightly bigger than the one on his right and our left. Oh, these ones are obviously not so thirsty, but where it's a bit drier in the Kalahari, apparently there is one that is quite thirsty.
have an upside down giraffe. I'm just really admiring the reflection of this cow that's just come in. So when I say cow, I mean it's a female giraffe. The term is a cow. The males are the bulls. Just grab my binoculars, make sure I'm not actually making a mistake there. Yeah, it's definitely a female. Wow, that reflection is gorgeous. And the one that's moving in from the back right is also a female. There was a big bull earlier that came to drink right in front of us. And then he moved actually away in the direction that these females have approached from. You can see she's very much aware of us. Not scared, otherwise she would have moved off. But clearly aware that there's something odd about that pile of wood in the corner of the bushes at the edge of the dam. And our shell duck is glowing in this afternoon light. Just going to have a quick squiz there. The giraffe's not going anywhere. But look at that shell duck. I know there were some questions on buffalo as well. If anyone wants to ask questions, even if something that we're not on at the time, just feel free to send those questions through. What a beautiful time of the day. This is going to be one of the best times of the day in the African bush. Ooh, Ian's asked a good question. He's wondering how far can a giraffe see? I don't have an answer for you on that, but what I can tell you is their eyesight is exceptionally good. Exceptionally good. These miss a thing that goes on in the bush. Look at that. Something drew his attention. Immediately she started looking. No, the eyesight is very, very good. And one of the things is they've got fairly loose association. So it's not, if you see a group of giraffe together today, let's say 20 giraffe, in a week's time they could all be split up into different smaller groups. So it's not necessarily that they'll be sticking around together. But what you do find is that even when the group is together, they can be spread out over a wide area. Okay, but they're all in contact visually. So even a giraffe might be 200 meters away from another, but you can say, okay, there's a giraffe there, there's another one there, there's another one there. So they're all very much aware of that. And their eyesight is, I believe, is acute to the point that even from a distance they can easily distinguish bulls from cows by those tufts of hair on the females, on those ossicones, or what we call, sometimes people refer to them as horns, but they're ossicones. And whereas the males are bald on top there, and I think that's a very, very good, easy visual cue from a long distance away to other giraffe. She's watching that duck. I hope that duck stays there tonight, and he doesn't duck. Oh, look at that. Always very wary. Nancy says, look how slim that neck is. It is very, very slim, I guess relative to the body size. But when you're up close to a giraffe, that neck is incredibly powerful. Very, very strong. And on your large bulls, there's just so much muscle in those necks, added to the weight of the head, makes them a very, very, very powerful weapon in fighting other giraffe. Yeah, they'll use that neck wrestling, and they'll actually use their heads as a sledgehammer. Yeah, they'll hit other giraffe with that. So, yeah, those necks are a lot more powerful than that slenderness belies. I always enjoy watching giraffe when you're in the bush, just because they are really cool animals. But also because their eyesight is so good and they miss so little, and they've got this advantage of their height, they'll often pick up things long before you will. And they'll often stare at something until they're certain of what it is that they're watching. So even a warthog that came shuffling through the grass or the bushes, if it attracted their attention, if they weren't sure what it was, they'd keep watching and staring until they were very happy. Okay, it's just a warthog, and then they'll carry on. Yes, it's just beautiful watching like all these doves flying past in the foreground. What a magical time. Yeah. Golden light. I think Catherine is somewhat a little bit impatient about this. She's like saying, "Drink, damn it, drink." There you go. Well, your wish shall be granted at some point. Yes. Yeah. It's like, and they're such a tease, they'll go down to a point like, okay, I'm going to drink. No, I'm not going to drink. And they'll do it again. They just keep on going like this. There you go. Oh my goodness. As we were saying. Now she keeps staring at that like shelduck as if he's going to do something. Girl, I promise you that shelduck is not going to do anything to you.
So we down in the riverbed because this female leopard got up and walked up on the bank and she started watching down like she was going to cross. She looked at us, she made eye contact with both me and Owen, and then she got up and turned and walked in the opposite direction. So we'll try and catch up with her again. I just hope we can try and get there quick enough before she moves too far and we won't be able to catch up with her. Oh, there's an elephant. Maybe that's what was encouraging her to move in a slightly different direction. The moment you want to drive quite quickly. Okay. So it might be worth, just because we saw her moving straight in the direction that we're heading now, I'll go and wait for her on the road. If we try and move through there, it becomes very, very dense. We'll be driving around in circles. We might disturb that elephant. So I'd rather do a slightly wider loop around that elephant and maybe try and catch her on the road that's just here. So the way that we found her last was by looking at the white that we noticed on her body, and instead of the belly that we pointed out, we actually noticed the very, very tip of the tail, and it was actually Owen that spotted it. We might have driven straight past and left if Owen hadn't seen that. So I'm just going to slow her right down. I mean, she was right here. In black and white. Tammy looks like an old movie. We have switched over to infrared, and that's why it's a slightly different color than what you've been experiencing, and that's just to put less strain on these animals' eyes. So we don't actually use a spotlight, and they can't see it, so it's really, really quite awesome. Okay, so we'll very, very slowly check down this road and see if we can find any sign of her.
And this giraffe is making a career of drinking water. I think he's having a good laugh at us. Just... There we go. Now she's going to drink. Watch this. I think now she's kind of like satisfied herself. Okay. Coast is clear. All good. But again, there could even be something else approaching. So she keeps staring in this direction down here. Off to our right. There you go. Come on, girl. Come on. You can do it. Maybe she doesn't like the taste of the water. A big roan bull was down here early this afternoon, just after we got here. And he took it upon himself to walk into the middle of the dam here, right in front of us, and then he just started peeing in the water. Like, could you not have done that somewhere else? And that is what she is now drinking. Diluted, at least. Oh, look at that. Look at... That's got to be one of my favorite things when watching giraffe drinking, is a little head flick with the droplets curling out like that. She'll do it again. Watch this. Ah, beautiful. That is gorgeous. Now this light is just superlative now. There's definitely something in these bushes here. She just looks too frequently in that one direction for there to be nothing. Maybe it's just the buffalo that had moved off. That's there that we can't see. You know, kudu bull, could be anything, you know. And she's not perturbed about it in any way. That's what you call having a long drink. Kenny has asked, are they normally quite shy? Around waterholes, they tend to be quite shy, just because you never know, and they don't ever know what may be approaching at a waterhole. Not that there's any huge threat to them out there. Yeah, you could be lions, that kind of stuff, but an adult giraffe like this is generally, the lions can take them, but not normally. Certainly not here. There's something going on. I heard some guinea fowl calling now, but it didn't sound like the alarm call, but it just like, it was the start of an alarm call, and they stopped. There's something going on. I can tell you right now, I can feel it, I know it. I'm looking around, but I'm not seeing it, but she's onto something. And remember, we had those 5 cheetah in the meerkat area this morning. They were headed down in this direction. No one saw them subsequent to our sighting, but you never know. Maybe they'll actually come down to the waterhole while we're sitting here. Something like that.
One thing I do know that you see in the African bush is the sunrise and the sunset. Look at this palette of colors on quarantine. Yaku, you're saying awesome, isn't it just? while we admire the sky, I just want to give you 2 updates. One, when we went past the injured hyena again, it was no longer there, which means it can walk. So that's one good thing. Injured, yes. Feeling sorry for itself, yes. But able to get up and move. So we didn't see it. And second of all, we went to the den. And Double Trouble were out. Running around the den, Ferris wheel style. And no adult in sight, which is very naughty. So we, of course, left immediately. But they are out and running about. I think they're hungry. And I think the adults are with a leopard. The leopard that we cannot find on a kill. I think the mums, i.e. Ribbon and Corky, are waiting at a kill. And of course, hopefully they'll get well fed and come back to feed their little ones. So we had to leave. I'm sorry. Oh, hyena behind us, BK. What a fright. My goodness. It's right behind the car, which doesn't make life very easy. Oh, walking the other way. Okay, let's see if we can get a glimpse of who this is. I could just hear someone coming behind the car. We've lost a lot of ambient light here, so I have no idea who this hyena is. Oh, many of you are thanking me for the hyena update. You're so welcome. But we can't stay there. Although the cubs were being really, really cute, we can't stay there. Oh, it's galloping. Wow. Running very, very fast. Nice work, BK. Now, my ability to ID from this angle is, well, it's not going to happen. But let me just see if I can slowly get closer to see who it is. Probably heading in the direction of the den, actually. Okay, BK says we need to go into IR. So in just a moment, your wonderful, colourful picture, yes, I'm very colourful today, will change into black and white using the infrared light, which means we'll be able to view this hyena without shining any artificial light on it. I don't want to speed up. Look at that. It's an unmistakable walk. You really couldn't see that and think it was any other living creature. It's a hyena. I think it's a young one. It looks very fluffy and small. Could be Swazi, Ndebele, Sutu. They're the usual suspects. Oh, that lapwing ain't happy. Oh my goodness, mass panic. Veronica, you are completely right. IR is a wonderful tool. It's a wonderful piece of technology. I have to say, in the politest way, I don't agree with spotlighting animals at night time. But IR allows us to see with animals and cubs, if adults are there, and view them without disturbing them in any way with light. Light can be a big disturbance to the animals here. Oh, the lapwings are not happy. Okay, I'm going to try and catch up with this hyena without trying to scare it too much. And as we do that, we're going to send you guys back across to Dylan at Tswalu.
She's drinking properly now, at last. But what is really cool, remember we were talking about how she was watching something across to the right? Well, this is what she was watching. All will be revealed. There we go. So they came ambling out through the bushes exactly where the giraffe was watching. So there's a nice example. You don't have to know, because you can't see through bushes and earthen walls and that kind of stuff. So don't bother. Just observe the animals around you. They'll always be giving you really, really, really good clues as to what's happening in the environment. And that gyro was onto those buffalo long before we even knew they were close by. It's It's interesting, every group of buffalo that's come in so far has been one or two old males with young bulls in attendance. You often see that with elephants as well. You'll get these older bulls being attended to by younger bulls, what's often known as askaris or scouts. This is peaceful. The little shelduck he's just bobbing around as well. My master cameraman here is gonna find it. Watch ya. Don't snigger, Tigger. There you go, there's a little shelduck. But if any of you are keen, we're going to try and find that shelduck nest. I don't know what our odds are, but if you're keen for us to give it a bash, we'll give it a bash properly. That'll be very difficult, but fun. Yay! Well, all the viewers are saying it's their new favourite duck. Well, you've all just become my new favourite viewers. No, shelducks are really cool. And just think, for a bird, it nests underground. Okay, there's a number of other birds that nest underground, but a duck, it's a big, chunky bird. They get over 2 kilograms. Some of the bigger males, females a little bit less. The males are always bigger, but they nest. They go find an aardvark burrow, and they go all the way down into the pitch dark. They put all the nesting material inside there, lay the eggs, sit down there incubating those eggs in the pitch dark, and then come out. You know, what an amazing strategy. And this in areas where honey badgers occur. Now you must know, a honey badger it will be like pulling the down out of a duvet if a honey badger goes down a hole like that. It's like the honey badger will go down the hole. The duck went down. Yeah. I guess if the duck is down the hole, it'll be, and there's no lights, it'll be dark-winged duck. We've still got another half an hour or so I'm really hoping even things like brown hyena might pop out still. It's not impossible. So peaceful, so peaceful. Especially when I'm not talking. Can you get this stuff right, yeah? Or not? We're going to try this stuff. Sorry, Jean-Jean always laughs because every time I get him to try focus on a bird, the thing flies away. And it's normally like midway between moving from one good sighting to the bird. The birds are being a bit of our nemesis at the moment. Wow, I wonder what's going through that little duck's mind when his partner's sitting miles away down a hole.
Oh no! Okay, there's one more. Hello everyone. Look over there. We had a pair of southern white-faced owls, and I've been telling you for the last few weeks how we actually see them quite regularly, which is quite special because I hadn't seen them for many years until I'd arrived back at Pridelands, which was quite nice to see them. Not a particularly big owl, but bigger than a Scops owl, about double the size or so. But they're very striking with those white facial discs and bright orange eyes. Isn't that awesome? So I knew that they would be around here because there's bush babies that live in this, I think it's a scotia tree, it's a bourbeen tree. I've seen lots of bush babies in here before, and we've also seen the southern white-faced owls in this area. But I think when they roost, they just roost up in the higher branches. That one looks like it wants to hop or fly somewhere. Where are you going? Looks like you're getting ready. Oh, you're going to walk along the branch. Oh, just up a little bit higher. Ah, and now hidden behind. Oh no, still climbing. Oh, they can actually climb quite well. I suppose they are little, hey? Yes, I'm sorry that I've been absent today. I'm convinced that I've had a hex put on me. Ah, hey, did you see it? I'm going to take the light away because dun da da da. There's the other one. It's just actually flown out and into the open onto the other side of the tree, which is very nice. No, why did it go off? There we go. So there's the other one. How great is that? So yes, so I think a Sangoma has put a spell on me, but my curse is now broken because we found some owls. We've literally seen nothing today other than the same Dacre twice, which we tried to put in camera both times. And what else have we seen? Squirrels running along the road. We've counted lots of different tree species. Megan, there we go. Lifer for you. Said you don't think that you've actually ever seen them live before. Well, they're around. They're very pretty. I think they're not my favorite of the owlets, of the smaller owl species, sorry. I'm trying to think, do I have a favorite? Probably an African wood owl is my favorite of the smaller owl species, just because of the call that they make. I can't do it. I would like to. Oh, off we're going. Did it fly down to the ground? I think it did. I'm going to go forward. Let's just have a look and see if we can't figure out what it's catching. There's been so many. I've been seeing big grasshoppers again. Watching lots of hornbills eat big grasshoppers. So I don't want to go too. I'm also going to just try and up here to see if we can see the other one. Go, car. Stealth mode. No, I've lost it now. I think they're right at the top of the tree. Oh well, but that's a pretty view though. The silhouetted tree with the last of the light. And at least we got a quick view of the southern white-faced owls. And now that we know that they are still living in the bourbeen tree, not too far away from camp, we'll definitely come and drive around here and try see them again. But, oh my goodness, it's been so quiet. But I suppose I can't complain because we have been so spoiled here at Pridelands. Every single game drive, there's just, you don't know where to look. There's always something. We did have one herd of elephants, but they just moved into an area into a valley. But pretty much out at Ndlovu Dam, which is a dam right outside the eco-training camp, if we've had 100 elephants come through today and just swim the whole day, I think I'm not being too generous. There probably could have been a few more. About 3 or 4 different breeding herds, and then lots and lots of bulls. But of course, as the show started, they all disappeared. And we have to try again tomorrow, I suppose, for the elephants. Hopefully some lions and leopards. But a pretty magical day. It's definitely put a smile on my face that I got to see those southern white-faced owls.
There's a hyena in the road right here. We were so worried. We had it. It was framed up perfectly. And then as soon as Emma told us that she was coming to us, it ducked off the road. But it actually looks like it was in the process of marking its territory. So it was scraping and squatting and doing all sorts of funky things that Owen and I got to witness. And now it's on its way straight down the road again. Oof. Got a whiff of it. Yeah, definitely smelt it. I mean, this is just a classic living example as to how difficult it would be if we were to try and singularly track one individual hyena. I mean, if we picked up on the tracks tomorrow morning, this hyena could have gone so far away. It's quite interesting though. It seems like it's heading straight in the direction of where that impala carcass was with the 2 leopards yesterday. See, it's just moving off the road. Let's see if it carries on marking. It's amazing. It's going straight there. It's basically right underneath one of the trees that carcass was. And I wonder, it must have come past sometime last night, and maybe it smelt the carcass and it probably is on its way back. Okay, so as this hyena carries on in towards the thickets, we're going to send you across to James.
I'm staring into the thickets, doing my best to find things. Currently not being very successful. I am very pleased, however, and David was especially. He wanted me to forward my congratulations to the Tswalu team for their finding of the shell duck. Not so, David?
Yes.
There's a Janet. You see it?
Just nipped off there.
There it is. Now it's nipped off. Well, that was a fantastic sighting. That was just world class. Let's see if I can get through this dust cloud I've created. We get better. She's gone. Or he. Could have been he. The large spotted genet. Never seen a small spotted genet here. Used to see them at Ngala once in a while. They have got a white tip to the tail. Another thing we used to see at Ngala all the time is civets. I'm not sure how often you're seeing them there. But alas, I have yet to put her on camera. Nothing further on the eastern boundary, I'm afraid. Ian, you'd like me to find you a scrub hare? Well, given the success of today's drive, I'm going to say it'll be difficult, but I'm going to try. On this road, a scrub hare. There's a clearing just up ahead, and I'm going to say that there'll be 2 or 3 scrub hares there. Let's get there. David, are you very jealous about the shell duck?
Yes.
Yeah. David and I looked at a picture of one, and David said, "Goodness gracious me," he said, that's a hell of a duck. Megan, you say I shouldn't worry because you see one on the dam cam all the time. Yeah, that's really cool actually. You do see them on the dam cam every night. I think it's probably the same chap. Right, here we go. No, we're not going to look for the bunny anymore. We're going to go and close the drive with David, the
Shell duck.
shell duck.
So we just been spending some more time watching this shell duck and just admiring the silhouette, not the silhouette, the reflections there. Like with the little female, we don't suspect any foul play. I think she's on eggs, I'm hoping. So that's going to be something that we're going to really put a huge amount of effort into over the coming weeks. And I hope we get something on it. So that'll be a fun one to watch. But as always, it's just such a privilege being out here. It's so special. And it's just, I always get so excited coming out here in the mornings and the afternoons because I know that there's people out there that are really enjoying following us and spending time and learning from us and our colleagues, and it's just really, really special that you can all join us on this journey. So thank you for that from our side. And yeah, you must all have a great night's rest, or wherever you are, stay safe, and we can't wait to see you again tomorrow morning. Thank you.